There is almost no evidence for the 10,000 steps a day goal that so many people have. However, walking is a brilliant form of exercise, and it's important to know what the science says about how much we should be doing it. So in today's video, I'm going to reveal exactly what the scientific data says about how much you should be walking and give you some great ideas to help you get there. My name is Will Harlow, and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today we're going to be talking about why you should forget the 10,000 steps a day goal and what to do instead. So the 10,000 steps per day goal that we hear so much about actually originated from Japan in the 1960s. A Japanese health researcher was growing concerned that their population was following the Western way of becoming a bit more overweight and sedentary. He worked out that most people in Japan were only walking 4,000 steps per day, and as a population they were gaining weight. He calculated that if everyone increased their steps to 10,000 steps per day on average, that would burn enough calories so that most people would lose an average of 1 pound of fat every single week. So really, it was a weight loss campaign. And what the Japanese government did is they pushed this quite hard. It was almost like positive propaganda. And they also gave out loads of pedometers, like the first iteration of the things you wear on your belt that count your steps. Now, it was a massive success, and loads of people in Japan took on this new challenge and increased their steps, and the population did become healthier as a result. However, the exact number of steps they recommended, 10,000, was literally plucked out of the air. There was no science behind it at the time. So I dug through the research to see if there's any truth behind the 10,000 steps per day goal, and if not, what should we be aiming for instead? The first thing the research showed me is that more walking does seem to generally be better for our health. In one study of over 78,000 participants, the researchers found that the more steps someone took, the lower their risk of both dementia and cardiovascular disease. And interestingly, this effect seemed to hold true until about the 10,000 step mark, where the effects leveled off. But that was the only study I could find that supports 10,000 steps per day as a goal. Now, there's lots of other research on how many steps we should walk, and many of those papers show big health benefits to much less walking per day. For instance, in a research paper in the European Journal of Cardiology, studying over 200,000 people, the researchers found that for every 1,000 step per day increase, there was a 15% decrease in your risk of all-cause mortality. That literally means you had a 15% lower risk of dying from any cause for every additional 1,000 steps per day that you do on average. Now, that same study also found that for every 500 step increase per day, you're looking at a 7% decrease in the risk of dying from cardiac problems. And cardiac problems are a huge killer, especially in the Western world. So it's true that only tiny changes in your daily step count can make a massive difference to your health. The same study found that the average person took 3,900 steps. And what they did is they looked at the risk of heart disease for people who took more steps than that and how much it improved their risk. So we've got risk here on the y-axis, a number of steps here on the x-axis. Now, the researchers found that just increasing your steps from 3,900 per day to 5,500 led to a 48% decrease in the risk of heart disease in this population, which is massive. However, interestingly, what they found is that people who did way more steps, so 11,500 steps per day, did see a further decrease in their risk, but it tailed off. So there was only a 19% difference when they increased their steps by a further 5,000 per day. So there does seem to be a law of diminishing returns, but that initial increase in steps seems to be incredible for improving your health. Before we go any further, I just want to tell you about 3-Tip Friday. 3-Tip Friday is my weekly email that I send out to my list, and it features 3 of the most interesting things I've found that week. It could be a health tip, it could be a piece of research I'm reading, or it could be a new tool that I've found to be really useful for helping people get more mobile. It's totally free. I just send it out once a week. There's no annoying promos inside, and you can sign up for it by going down below this video and entering your email in the 3 Tip Friday link. Interestingly, another aspect that people almost never consider is not necessarily how many steps you take, but how those steps are taken. There's a big difference between walking really quickly and doing 10,000 steps per day really slowly. You'll feel a huge difference in your heart and your lungs. Now, there's a preliminary study that was done in Sheffield Hallam University, which I found super interesting. And the researchers compared the health data of 2 groups. The first group, they asked to do the typical 10,000 steps per day, but they asked them to do it, ambling, nice and slowly. And then the second group, they asked them not to aim for a number of steps, but just to do 3 brisk 10-minute walks per day. Now, those 10-minute walks were only about 1,000 steps each. So you had the 10,000 steps per day slow group and the 3,000 steps per day fast group. Now, at the end of the study, the researchers found no difference between the positive health outcomes, i.e. both groups had improved, but the difference between them wasn't massive. What they did find was that the people in the 10,000 steps per day group actually struggled to hit their target, where the 3,000 steps per day group hit it every day with no problems whatsoever. They also found a trend towards the 3,000 brisk steps per day group having better outcomes for their heart and their lungs. So brisk walking seems to be way more effective for improving health than just doing lots of very slow steps, if you can manage it. So with all that being said, what's my advice? Well, I do think most people should try and increase the number of steps they do or the pace that they walk at. So here's what I would do. First of all, take 2 weeks and track the number of steps you currently do. Now, you can either get a very cheap pedometer online or use an inbuilt tracker in your watch or in your phone. Most phones come with one nowadays, and take an average over a period of 2 weeks. Once you've got your number, you've got 2 options for what you can do. The first option is you can try and increase your steps. And what I would try and do here is increase your step count on average by 500 to 1,000 per day, only increasing it once every 2 weeks. So let's say you're walking 4,000 steps per day on your pedometer. What you would do next week is try and do 4,500 per day on average, keep it the same for the week after, and then up it again and shoot for 5,000 per day for the next 2 weeks. That's option 1. Option 2, if you don't like the sound of that because it takes more time, you can instead just increase the pace but keep the number of steps the same. So if you're only doing 4,000 steps, you can keep it at 4,000, but make an effort to increase your pace by 5 to 10%, and again, increase that every 2 weeks. Now, you can increase your pace by getting somewhere 5 to 10% quicker. That would be a great way. So instead of timing or counting your steps, you can time your walks and try and finish them 5% quicker each time you do it. Now, either way has been shown to improve health, so whichever you pick, it's a winner, but these are great ways to improve your health whilst enjoying your hobby of walking. So that's the truth about the 10,000 steps per day goal and why it might not be the best thing to shoot for. Well, I hope I've left you with some ideas about what to do instead. But if you want some more advice about how to walk further and you've noticed your walking is maybe not what it once was, I've got loads of tips and exercises and advice about how to improve your walking in my brand new book, Thriving Beyond 50, the 2024 edition. It's designed to help keep people just like you active and mobile and independent. And if you pick up a copy, I hope you absolutely love it. There's a link for it underneath this video in the descriptions box. And if you do pick it up, I hope you enjoy. Now, make sure you've left a comment on this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep watching our videos and you don't want to miss them, and hit like as well before you leave. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again on the next one.